Hello everyone, Jason from Truth Behind the Magic here. I just got done filming the video about the new theme park in Abu Dhabi, and this is another topic that I knew I needed to talk about when I had everything set up to record. And I will be blunt with you, I did not want to make this video. Not like I didn't want to make the video, but I was hoping I would never have to talk about this topic. I have been debating this for a while, but something recently happened that just made me say this has to be discussed. But it's really just the topic of, is the Disney college program still safe? And this will mostly be pertaining to Flamingo Crossings, but it also does pertain to the program as a whole, because even if you're not living there, which is a very small percentage of participants, it will leak over into other parts of the program. Undoubtedly, it already has 100%. But this has been building up for quite a while. Literally, I mean, pretty much ever since post-COVID, honestly. And I know I say recently, it's been probably 5 months or whatever, but one of my last videos was the current state of the college program, and I discussed a lot in that about the things that are going wrong in the program, the things that are going right, just what's going on with it. So some of this was discussed in there, but this goes a bit further on this topic. And I think the program has always experienced occasional issues with theft, sexual assault, other criminal activity, but it has just gotten out of hand. It's gotten to a point where it's pretty much weekly that I'm hearing about theft, burglary, sexual assault, major roommate problems, and I'm not talking about just a little dispute. I'm talking about roommates that say they're going to kill you, and then housing does nothing about it. Issues like that. And I'm not saying you hear it all in the same week, but you'll hear about it at least once a week, and it did not used to be like that. And this was all, of course, capped off by the shooting a few days ago at Flamingo Crossings West. I lived at East, the two programs that I was at Flamingo, but West is, of course, essentially the same thing, the only difference really being that there are some non-college program people who live there, and I'll talk about that in a few minutes. But anyway, supposedly the shooting that happened there, it was because of an argument between two young men. It is unclear if they were cast members. Some have theorized that they were not, but I personally don't care if they were or not. I think it's just as bad if they were not, because it means they were friends of cast members and they were allowed into Flamingo by cast members. They didn't sneak in over the gate or something like that. And of course, like I said, not everyone who lives there is on the college program, but the overwhelming majority are, so I would say odds are this was someone in the program. Someone could prove me wrong, but even then, it's just indicative of the quality of cast member life that has been declining, frankly, in recent years, especially on the program. These shootings do happen at regular apartment complexes, although the Orlando area, especially around Disney, Lake Buena Vista, Celebration, I mean, even where Flamingo is, are usually pretty good areas, so a shooting even happening at a complex there is not... It's not like where I live right now, in Asheville, North Carolina, where it happens every week. It's not that common in that area. And I think a lot of people, especially that I was seeing on the college program pages, are very quick to blame security. And I think it is a part of the problem, because I know I've said this in a few videos, but I have an issue with there being no picture IDs anymore, no photo IDs. Everyone has this Flamingo Crossings card that looks exactly the same. It doesn't have your picture on it. It doesn't say what complex you live at. Now, people have told me and I've seen it myself. The security does have a thing there in the gatehouse that shows your picture when you scan your card. But I mean, if they're 5 feet away from you, you can look like someone else. It's not impossible to get in there. It used to be, if you had guests and you were going in there, you know, they'd practically get in your car. The security would. They would be so close to your vehicle, they would literally put their head inside your car and look to see who was in there. And they would make sure the IDs were the correct number of people, that it looked like the people on the IDs. You couldn't just get in there. I know people now will just drive in and have someone kind of put the seat back and lay back and drive in and just scan in like normal and not even scan them in. That was not going to be happening back then. Because if you tried to go into Vistaway in your vehicle, it was not like a scan-in thing. You had to actually, they had to actually look at it. As far as I know, I took the bus when I was at Vistaway on the classic program, as I'll call it, but as far as I know, it was not like it is now. And that's a good segue into this next point, which is just that the quality of the college program saw a stark and significant decline when it came back after COVID, and has been slowly declining even further than that ever since then. And the root of the problem is that people are simply getting into the program who are a terrible fit for the company and harm the image of Disney in pretty much every facet. I think this is because of a couple reasons. Disney has expanded the number of college program participants in recent years. I don't know if that's ever been put out in official memorandum, but I have heard it within the company that they were trying to take it from like 20% to 30 or 40. I don't remember exactly what it was, but it was a big increase. We're talking thousands and thousands of people. And you can just tell from observing. I mean, even the fact that they built Flamingo East and West, I know they wanted new complexes, but they were significantly larger than the old complexes, even all of them together. It has to be more rooms now, surely. So that's been letting in a lot more people. I think overall the reputation of the program has decreased in the eyes of the public. So I think there's a large number of what I would call lower quality applicants being admitted into the program. And I'm not trying to like take a shot at everyone doing the program right now or anything. The really good people are still getting in. And like I've said many times, you can still have a great experience. You can be an asset to the company. But it's just a simple fact that a staggeringly large number of people who should not even be allowed to step foot on Disney property are being allowed into this program now, and it is very clear. The removal of the phone interview pretty much opened up Pandora's box on the program. That allowed hundreds, if not thousands, of people into the program who should not be stepping foot on property. And while that interview has come back, I think we're still seeing a trickle-down effect from that. Like I've said before, people got in who shouldn't have been in. They told their friends to get in who also should not be in the program. Now they're getting let in. Now they're telling people they know. It's going to take years for that to truly recover. And I know the program has always had kind of a weird reputation as like a party place and all that, but it's just at a point now that is ridiculous. And I'll get into that here in a little while, but I personally never felt unsafe at Vista Way and just overall in the college program in 2019. And while I didn't feel unsafe necessarily in 2022 or 2023, you could feel that the vibe of the program has completely changed. I know I've said before, even Flamingo itself just feels like a prison block or something. It's just a completely different vibe than the old housing. And one moment that sticks out for me was one night in 2023. One of my roommates told me that one of his other friends who lived there had seen a group of people in hoodies walking around, knocking on people's doors, just random people going door to door. I'm sure that wasn't above board activity. And just stuff like that wouldn't happen in 2019. And if it did happen, you would have heard the next day that they caught him and threw him out that night. They just don't care anymore. And I think it's because working for a company like Disney and really bolstering your resume has become the lowest point of concern for a large amount of people doing the program. They're just there to party, sleep around, and engage in criminal activity in quite a few cases. And like I've said, you can have your fun on the program, but when you start dragging down other people's experience and start dragging down the reputation of the program, then you're a problem. And I know the people who watch this channel, the people that are trying to make sure they have a good experience, are not those people, but I'm just letting you know it exists in a pretty large percentage nowadays. In 2019, no one on the program would have ever dreamed about bringing a firearm into Disney housing. I mean, technically there could have been someone in there with one, but it just, I doubt it. I highly doubt it. Those kind of people just simply weren't allowed into the program. You would hear about people getting termed. There were some weirdos, to put it simply, that were in the program, but it was very hard. The acceptance rate used to be like 10 to 20%. 20% at most. So the kind of people that would do that just were not in the program. Just full stop, were not in the program. Disney has had to increase admission standards, of course, because, like I said, I think they increased the number of participants by a substantial margin. The number of acceptances is clearly still much higher than it used to be. I don't care what kind of numbers they put out to say otherwise, which I don't think they have, but it's very easy to observe when there's a poll in a Facebook group and whatever 75% of people, 50% of people say that they made it in. I'm going to take that over what anyone else says, because that is firsthand observation. But like I said, I don't think any other numbers have come out in a long time. The last time they came out was pre-COVID, and like I said, it was 15% or something like that. I honestly think they may have to implement a new stage of the application process, maybe something like a cover letter, where people in detail tell you why they want to do the program, which I know the phone interview kind of covers that, but, you know, this will allow you to see people's writing skill and really get a detail rather than just a 15-second answer on a phone call. They may honestly even have to implement something like a quiz to kind of discover the applicants who actually care about the company and are serious about the program. And not to say that everyone who does the program needs to be some kind of Disney aficionado or Disney fanatic or something, because I knew a lot of people, especially on my first program, who really didn't care about the company. And I'm not saying you have to be some major fan, but I just think now it has frankly reached the point where if people do not at least have some small kind of affinity for the company or the theme parks, they need to be weeded out of the application process. Because people that are simply coming down to sleep around and all that I've already said in many videos need to be weeded out of this application process somehow. And like I said, I don't know how that looks. You need to have some kind of cover letter or just letter of intent, like I said. Really tell them why, maybe a backstory of why you want to do it, what you hope to get out of it, not just, I think I'm going to sleep around, go to parties, which no one would actually say that on their cover letter, but you can tell. You can tell the people that actually want to do it and strive to do well, and I think they do a terrible job of weeding out those people that are not like that these days. The second step in fixing this would be Disney growing a backbone once again and starting to term people on the spot and just terming people in larger numbers when rules are clearly broken. The amount of BS that goes on at Flamingo Crossings, and maybe even in the workplace to a smaller extent, that goes unpunished is just frankly astounding. I know I've said this before, but they used to take pleasure in kicking you out of the program. The security there especially would love nothing more than escorting you off property. If you were caught doing something like having a party during quiet hours or just drastically breaking the program rules in some other way, or obviously criminal activity, you'd get thrown out. It's just not like that anymore. And that is why some of the blame on this needs to be placed on the company that runs Flamingo. But the buck stops with Disney, because Disney needs to be aware. I think they've just buried their head so far in the sand they don't care. I would say as long as they're making money, but they're not doing that well anymore, so I don't know why it is. But they've buried their head in the sands. They need to be made aware that the company that is running their housing does not care about the people who live there. The company is effectively being sabotaged by them due to their refusal to take initiative when residents have legitimate complaints. Like I said earlier, someone threatening to kill their roommate, someone who's living so much in like a pigsty that it's a biohazard, that they don't care. Disney, I think, just needs to take control of the housing complex. I don't think they would do it, but I know there are Disney people who work there, and like if you get termed, it's going to be by a cast member, not someone from the company that runs it. But there's got to be some kind of reformation there, because it is not good the way it is now. And like I said, the buck stops with Disney. I don't know if they're aware of the decline that is happening in the program. Surely they are, because I really dread to think about what the program is going to look like in 5 years or 10 years if they don't do anything about this. Enough is enough. This has just been going on for so long. It's time to make the program something that is truly sought after again. And I know I'm kind of out of the loop on it. I am a little bit older now. Obviously, I did it 3 times, and it's only been a couple of years since I did it the last time, but it's really not one of those situations where I'm just like, back in my day. Like, I have real evidence and observational research that shows that this program has gone down the crapshoot. And like I said, it is still good to an extent. You can have a great time if you stay out of trouble, if you don't break the rules, if you're there for the right reasons. But I hate to say it, and I've alluded to this many times before, saying I was close to it, but I'm officially saying on record that I'm at the point where I would suggest do not participate in the Disney College program at the current time, unless you are a college senior and this is your last chance to apply, or you're within the year or 2 window after whatever. Unless this is your last chance to apply, do not apply. Give it a year or 2, see if Disney actually cares and does something about this. I doubt it. But yeah, give it a couple of years, because you have a much higher chance of getting in now than you used to. It's not like it doesn't take 5 times to get in anymore. I'm sure it does for some people, but give it a little while, see if the quality goes up, then apply. Of course, you could live somewhere outside of Flamingo, but that's just, like I said at the beginning, even though most of this pertains to Flamingo, it really pertains to the entire program and, in a way, the entire company as a whole. So I would just wait to see if the quality improves. And I really do hope they take steps to improve the program. I would love nothing more than that. I guess they're too busy building a theme park in Abu Dhabi to improve the Disney College program, because we're just the peons in the company. But as of right now, they should be ashamed with the antics that are going on within their premier internship. It's just a shame. And something that should not be going on at the top hospitality company in the world, essentially. Hospitality and entertainment. I know I've said it before, there are people that use the excuse of this is just a college living place to use that as a blanket excuse for every single thing that goes on there. It's not a college living place. It's a living place for people that are supposed to be in the premier internship in the United States. And until they clean up some of this, it's just going to keep going downhill. And like I said, I gave some examples of what I think would help fix it, but at the end of the day, they're going to have to start weeding people out and doing that in the application process and then weeding them out after. Now, people do still get termed, but it's like what they used to say about Trump, about him going out in the street and shooting someone and people would still support him. You practically have to go out in the street and shoot someone or get in a shootout at Flamingo to get termed now. Or at least for housing to do anything about it. Disney might do a little bit more on their end, but yeah, I know this has pretty much been a rant, but just know if you are going into the program, it is not what it used to be. Hopefully it'll improve, and I'm going to keep making videos on the program, but at this point I'm kind of just fed up with the current state of it. But other than that, that's the end of this video, and I'll see you next time.